Okay, hello, let's make a start. Hi everyone, welcome to Web Conference 2. Hope you're all well. I can see that you're all busy this week. I'm very lucky to have Monica here, but the rest of you will have to catch up and watch this recording. So I will certainly keep that in mind as we're going through. So I just hope everyone's going well, enjoying the course materials. I was just chatting to Monica about that. She's finding the course materials very well structured and enjoying it. So I hope everyone feels that way. If you've got any feedback, of course, please pass it on. I hope you're all now going well with your weekly communities of practice and reflection postings in LMS through the discussion board. So I sent all of you who had done some work some feedback on what you'd done in week 1. So I hope that helps to improve your posts over the semester. So just to remind you, I will be grading the COPs from weeks 2 through to weeks 5. And I will be grading 1 reflection post over those weeks. So that's how it's going to work. I think I showed you the rubrics in our first web conference. So today we are going to be focusing on assessment 2, which is due this coming Sunday, the 30th of September, end of week 4 for you guys, before 11:55 p.m. So please, please, please make sure that you do not submit your assignment late. Okay, I hate giving out late penalties when they're not required. So this is an opportunity really to, well, there's not too many of you here, so I want to go through again just the basic requirements, make sure you understand what they are. You will submit your essay through here, through LMS, through this link, so make sure that gets submitted before the due date, Sunday the 30th, before 11:55 p.m. All right, let's just have a quick overview again of the instructions for this particular assessment, your individual essay. So this is a research essay where you will be required to research and write an essay. As you know, you're also required to formulate your essay question. So I'll talk to you about this in a minute. So overall, with your essay, we're looking for you to provide a thorough description and critical analysis of the relevant academic literature, so relevant to your question. So we're looking here that you are presenting a good theoretical framework for your question. We're looking to your referencing skills and the use of appropriate high quality references to support your arguments. So we're looking for them to be well supported, high quality, peer reviewed journal articles. We're looking for a minimum of 10, and then you will want to supplement that with other material like practitioner articles. You might find web sources that are useful, etc. Just make sure that you are very focused on your referencing. Academy of Management, both in text and in your reference list. This essay is also looking for you to present a reflection, a personal reflection that relates your analysis around your question to your personal experiences, career development, observations, etc. So that reflection is really important. We're looking for you to reflect on those things within yourself and see how they compare to the theory you've presented. Do they hold true? Have you found some differences? So we're really looking for you to explore that aspect in your reflection. Finally, we're looking to see that you have addressed all the requirements of the question that you've presented. You've evaluated how important your chosen topic and focus is. So we're looking at an employability here. And you might want to talk about some trends and issues and how it relates back to HRD practices. So that's overall. Now, the topic of your research essay is employability. Now, some of you have been a bit confused about this. The topic is employability. And I encouraged you to do some initial reading and research on this. So it was presented in Module 1. under competencies and capabilities. So after having done that basic reading, you were then required to formulate your own research essay question. So the initial reading you do will help to guide you in the area of employability. What are some particular focuses that you would like to look at, to explore? Now, you have all been asked to provide me with your essay question last week, actually. Now, I have only had a handful of students give me their essay questions. And with those students, we've had to do quite a lot of work structuring and tinkering with those questions. So it hasn't been an easy task for them. So if you do not send me your question to have a look at, you are taking a risk that you are going to be off topic and you are not going to meet the context of what's required. So please make sure you get those essay questions to me. Having had a look at a number of these questions that have come through, I thought it might be useful. I just threw this together this morning for you, but I think it may help. All right. So just look, I just threw it together really, based on just the experience I've had with the few students giving me some questions to work with. This might help. So remember, your essay question is on the topic of employability. That's your general topic. And you need to narrow down the focus of your question on a specific area of interest or aspect within this topic of employability. So you need to narrow it. Now, when you are constructing your question, I want you to keep in mind a few things. Your question needs to be researchable, okay? There needs to be enough work done out there so that you can provide a good theoretical basis for the main aspect of your essay. Your question should also be arguable to allow you to present a number of perspectives or different sides, okay? The best questions too do not have a definitive answer to them. So this allows you to find aspects and angles to approach the question. You can be creative. And also remember that one of the requirements of this task is to present a reflection. So make sure your question allows you the opportunity to reflect back to your own experiences or observations. And then you can try and tie that back to the theory that you've presented. So there's, I just spotted a typo. That's how quickly I put this together. It may help you when you're formulating your question. There are some common instruction verbs that you will find in typical essay questions, and I've got a sample of them here. If you do a Google search of instruction verbs, you'll find a list very similar to this. So have a look through a list like this and have a think about what you are trying to achieve with your essay questions. So use some really good, strong instruction verbs when you're constructing your question. So you can see here things like, analyze is breaking into parts, discussing, examining, and interpreting parts. Criticizing is making judgments, evaluating worth. It involves analysis. Discuss, this is where you're considering and debating or arguing the pros and cons or different perspectives of an issue. So a lot of you will probably use this instruction verb. So you can see there's some ideas there to help you formulate your question. So students have struggled with this. If you haven't sent me a question, please do. Right. So Monica, you can turn on your mic for a minute.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to ask, will you be supplying us this document at all?
I won't. Oh, well, I certainly
Sure.
can. I have no problems. Would you like me to send it to you?
Yeah, if that's okay. I'll just take a look at it. It might help.
Okay, no problem. And of course, if you, have you got background noise there, Monica? That's all right.
Unfortunately, yeah, I'm going to
That's
mute.
all right. That's all right. Yes, so I can certainly send this to you and it will help you to start to construct your question. Now that you know that you need to do that, I suggested that do the initial reading, have a look at some areas of employability that interest you, and then you can start to look at the reference list on some of those main articles and do some back sourcing. So go to the articles that are listed that are relevant, and you can go and have a look at those articles in full. So that's a very good way of doing the research around this type of essay. So we've talked about the main requirements of the essay. So I've sort of said you need to be analytical, critical analysis, take a critical perspective, present a very a sound theoretical framework, demonstrate your grasp of the academic literature, make sure you use a minimum of 10 academic peer-reviewed journals plus other supplementary research, include your reflection. So we're looking for an academic essay which is well written, so focus on your academic language and structure. Make sure that you have a good, strong essay question. So I'm trying to make sure that happens before you actually go off track here. So your essay needs to be structured appropriately, introduction, body with a number of paragraphs and a conclusion, and make sure your essay addresses your question. I do look very closely at structure because at this stage of your MBA, you should be very good at writing, academic writing. So I'm looking for a well-structured essay, well-structured paragraphs. Make sure that your introduction includes a very clear thesis statement, which will set out your research question and how you are going to go about answering that question. We've talked about how important it is to make sure that you have the theoretical framework for your essay. In terms of formatting, please make sure you follow all the formatting requirements here. So make sure you include your cover page, which has your research question there on the front, as well as your student details. Make sure you use spell check and you do some thorough proofreading and self-editing. Please number your pages, use 12-point standard font, 1.5 spacing. And of course, Academy of Management referencing for both your in-text and reference list. So there is a nice library guide for that. I think I showed you that last time. Right, is there anything else I want to mention about the essay? Okay, so I suggest you have a look through all of these links. There's some very good information here. If I just go back, I can just, to give you a bit more of a flavour around the type of questions that you might try and put together for your research essay. I've seen some really interesting questions coming from students looking at different aspects of employability, such as graduate employability. I had an interesting one on entrepreneurial skills and the link back to employability. So that was quite an interesting question. Employability amongst managers, graduates. So there's different aspects that have come through in the questions so far. So be creative. And I do urge you to look into something that you're interested in, because then you're going to want to research. So you can just see some of these example questions here. They are not related to your topic of employability, but they just give you some examples of well-formulated research essay questions. And you can see that they meet those criteria. They're researchable, they're arguable, they allow you to present a number of different perspectives, and they give you the opportunity for reflection. Now, I did last time go through the rubric for this assignment, it might be useful if I just run through it very quickly again for you, so you know exactly what criteria that I'm going to be using to mark your essay. So let me just pull this across. This marking rubric is just in LMS, so it's there for you as well, of course. Hopefully that's easy there for you to see, Monica. All right, so we are going to be marking your essay out of 100. Of course, it's worth 30% of your grade. So this is how it's going to be broken down. So 30% of the mark there will be for analysis. So here we're looking at how well you have narrowed down your topic of employability and given it some specific focus. We're looking for how well you've developed your conceptual and theoretical framework and how well you've demonstrated some very critical analysis and critical thinking skills. The second criteria here, research and evidence, which is worth 20% of your mark. So here we're looking for how good the quality of your sources are. So you've used peer-reviewed academic journals that are relevant. You have demonstrated excellent referencing skills in terms of in-text referencing and your reference list. All of your work is adequately paraphrased so that you're using your own words. So that's what we're looking for here. Let me just move this down a little bit. Come on. Perhaps I'll try this. There we go. All right, next one, critical reflection. So here we're looking at your reflection piece in your essay. So we're looking at how well you have been able to provide a reflection that is relevant to your question and the theory that you've presented, and how you have been able to relate that to your own examples, experiences, or observations. So have you been able to apply it to work, life? And we're also looking for you to take that a little bit further. So understand the relevance of the theory that you've presented to your own experiences. Demonstrate that. So there's your critical reflection piece. Structure and organisation. So this is the last 10% of your grade. So I've already talked about this. I'm looking to see how well you are writing for an academic audience. Is your work cohesive, integrated, well supported? Have you planned your paragraphs? Do you have a good topic sentence and then build on that theme using well-supported examples? So this is what I'm looking for here. Of course, make sure your introduction includes a very strong thesis statement that sets out your research question and how you're going to approach it. Okay, I think that's all I really have to say about the essay that's due on Sunday. So I think the urgent thing is those of you who haven't got me your questions, please get them to me and give me a little bit of time to look at them. Thank you. Monica, have you got any questions that I can address on the essay before we move on to the next assessment?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Okay, let's see. I want to go back to my I think I've lost my Latrobe page. That's how did that happen? All right, let me just log in again. Excuse me, guys. Sorry about this. I'm not sure what happened there. Okay, here we go. Monica, you can still see my screen, I take it?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. All right, guys, let's go then and have a look at assessment 3, because you're going to want to start this as soon as you've got that essay in, if you haven't already. Okay, so in assessment 3 is a report. It is an individual written human resource development proposal. So the due date for this is the 14th of October, which is at the end of Module 6. So it's due on that day before 11:55 p.m. The length of the proposal, 1,800 words, worth 30% of your grade. Shall we have a look at the instructions? Okay, so there's a lot of information here. Let me just pull out the pertinent pieces for you. You'll obviously have to read this in detail. So this assessment involves you developing a learning and development proposal. So to meet the needs of a group of individuals within a specific organisation. And we have given you a case study, Red Telecom, and you will be developing your learning and development proposal for them. So the objective of the learning and development proposal is to describe and analyse appropriate L&D interventions for the group. And once you read the case study, you'll see that the group that you are developing interventions for is the customer resolution team leaders at Red Telecom. So this task is aimed at allowing you to apply the theory that you've come across to a real world situation. So it's really important when you write your assignment, you understand the context. So you're writing your proposal from the perspective of either a team leader, so you are the team leader, or you're writing it from the perspective of an HRD professional who is assisting this team. Your proposal is directed to senior management and you are going to seek their approval for your interventions. So you are going to have to write a proposal that is persuasive and presents a strong business case. So to go along with your proposal, you'll develop a learning plan which will support your proposal. This will go in your appendices. I'll give you an example. You're also going to want to identify and demonstrate some of the positive organisational outcomes that will result from your interventions if they're implemented. I'll mention now that your fourth assessment, which is due in week 7, a verbal pitch, is very linked to this assessment. So essentially you'll be providing a simulated verbal pitch to the senior management team at Red Telecom to support this written proposal. So most of the research and work that you're going to require for that verbal pitch, your last assessment, assessment 4, will be done when you do this assessment. This is where you'll do the majority of the work. The verbal pitch will be about presenting it, pitching it to senior management. So I'm going to talk much more about that assessment in our last web conference in week 6. All right, so here is the basic requirements of this assessment. So you are required to analyse, propose and describe learning and development interventions appropriate to address the issues faced by the team leaders in the customer resolution department at Red Telecom. We're looking for you to underpin your proposal with a strong theoretical framework. You'll be required to research specific competencies required for those requiring your intervention plan. We're looking for a high impact professional report that is addressed to your audience, which is senior management. So it's not an academic essay, it is a professional business report. We are looking for you to, within your interventions, apply both formal and informal workplace learning. So make sure that you incorporate both. And we're looking for you to do more than just restate other authors' work, what you read. Incorporate your own ideas, originality, and provide the critical analysis, which is specifically applied to the case study you're given. The other thing I should point out here is make sure when you come up with your interventions and you're formulating your learning and development plan, you apply the 70-20-10 model of learning and development. Okay, so I know you all know all about that. I'm just having a look here to see what else I want to highlight for you. All right, so we've talked about some of the basic requirements, the word count, 1800, the basic formatting. So we'd like to see it formatted as a professional business report, and you're given some guidance here about report writing in this context. So make sure you include a cover page, executive summary. This is approximately half a page, and you keep this separate from your main body. Then, of course, you will have the main body of your report. Now, we are going to suggest that you use headings that we're going to give you, so I'll show you those in a minute. If you use the headings that we give you, this will ensure that your report is focused to meeting the requirements of the task and you won't miss anything. Then in your appendix, you'll include your learning plan and any other detail if you think it's required. Again, we use Academy of Management referencing styles in this report. Again, we're looking for a minimum of 10 relevant peer-reviewed journal articles, which can be supplemented by other practitioner articles, web sources, or anything else that's relevant. Now let's just have a look here. Make sure you click on this little box here, suggested key headings. So these are suggested key headings for you to use in the body of your report. So I really do encourage you to stick to these so that you make sure you meet the requirements of the task. So you can see here, this of course is related to the case study that's presented, and I will show you that in a minute. So firstly, you should outline the objective of your proposal, providing any relevant background. You should present a work group profile, so description of the group's composition, roles, demographics, etc., experience relating to the group that you are looking at. So that's the team leaders in the customer resolution team at Red Telecom. Make sure you provide a very specific statement that describes and analyzes the issues and knowledge gaps, training gaps, etc., that are existing at the moment. And then, of course, you want to go on to then identify the needed competencies and skills in that group, which will then set you up to analyze and present some appropriate learning and development policies, approaches, which will lead you into your interventions. So we want you then to talk about your overall intervention strategy, the benefits that will come from it, and then you will need to detail your particular interventions. So when you are doing this, make sure you describe each individual intervention. This needs to be done separately. So, including, so you'll come up with a number of interventions, whatever they might be, specific training, team building activities, mentoring, whatever that may be. And of course, support your interventions with the appropriate theory. So consider each one separately. Make sure when you're doing this, you identify the benefits and potential outcomes from these interventions. Identify any design considerations about your interventions, implementation factors such as how long it will take to implement, what resources you'll need, costs, etc. So detail this for each of your interventions. Finally, you're going to want to make sure that you present a way of evaluating the success of your learning and development proposal. So come up with some ways that that can be measured. And then, of course, a conclusion. So that's the basic requirements. I'm going to just refer you back now to the case study. So this is the case study that you'll be using this semester. So you're going to need to read this in detail a number of times because it's quite complex and there's a lot of things going on. So you're going to have to read it quite a few times. So it sets a context here. We're looking at a multinational called Red Telecom, who are in the telecommunications services sector. So you'll need to go through and read this in detail. You are going to be required to focus on the customer resolution department and specifically the team leaders in this department. So I suggest that you go through and have a very, very good look through all of the information that is provided to you. And this will help you to make sure that you can structure your report to meet the requirements, specifically based on this case and the problems that are presented. So you're asked to, as an HR manager working within the customer resolution department, design a learning and development program for the team leaders. And I've just been through all the requirements of that with you, so you know what you need to do. Now, the only other thing I can do at this point, I will show you on LMS, you need to include a learning and development plan in your appendices. So here is a sample template that you can use. Here it is. So this is just a very basic template that you can use for your learning and development plan. So just make sure that you have got enough information in here to allow senior managers to know how your learning and development plan is going to work. So you want to provide some of the key information, basic details here, and of course that will be covered in more detail and supported in the body of your report. So you can use any format you like, but this is just a template that you might like to use as a starting point. Now, I think the only other thing I can do at this point to help with that assessment is just to show you the marking rubric for that assessment so you know exactly how we're going to mark this. Here we go, assessment 3. So let me run through it with you quickly. This assessment again is worth 30% of your grade, so we'll mark this out of 100. 10% of your mark is for your executive summary. So with an executive summary, what I'm looking for is an executive summary that is absolutely succinct, clear, concise, well written, and provides a summary of the key parts of your proposal. So an executive summary should stand alone. You should be able to read the executive summary and know what's coming in the report. It also wants to create a feeling that the reader wants to keep reading and find out the detail in your report. So that's what I'm looking for in an executive summary. So it's quite hard to do that, especially in half a page. Right, 30% of your grade, big heavy weighting here, is looking at group or context analysis. So here we're looking for the fact that you have identified and analysed the appropriate performance gaps, competency gaps, etc., that you have been able to identify the competencies required, and you have used a good, strong theoretical framework to present this. So this is also, this is looking at analysis and an application of theory. Okay, next criteria. My spreadsheet does not want to move down. There we go. Intervention, theory, and critical evaluation. So this is worth 30% of the mark. So here we're looking for the fact, firstly, that you have addressed all required elements of, you have addressed all the key requirements of the report. So you've got a full proposal, it's complete. We're looking at your interventions. So we're looking for the fact that your interventions are well described, well supported. They present the relevant theory, and they provide critical analysis that show you how you've been able to apply the theory to the situation that Red Telecom face. Then finally, 20% of your grade is for research and evidence. So same as your essay, we're looking for use of high quality, peer-reviewed academic journals that are relevant and support your report, and that you have demonstrated appropriate referencing skills both in text and in your reference list. Oh, I feel like I've been talking for a very long time, which I have been. Now, Monica, I've only got you here. I hope that's helped you at least, firstly for assessment 3, to know where to start. So I suggest, excellent. Okay, so I do suggest you get a start with that. Go and have a good look at the case study that's there. And as you're reading the case study, you've got a fairly good idea of what the requirements are. So then you can go back and overlay this against the requirements. And as I said, there's a lot going on in the case study. So you're going to have to pull out the pieces that are most relevant for you. So the next web conference that we have in week 6, and I'm just, the next web conference in week 6 on the Wednesday of that week, that will allow, you will have the opportunity to ask me any last minute questions about your L&D proposal, because it will be due on that Sunday. And then of course we will be focusing heavily in that web conference on your last assessment, the verbal pitch that you need to record. Okay, I am not sure what else I can tell you today. So, Monica, is there anything else that you'd like me to cover that would be useful for you?
No, you've covered everything perfectly.
Okay, excellent. If you want to hang around, Monica, I'll have a quick chat to you afterwards.
Sure. Yep.
Otherwise, I will sign off for today and I'll post this recording very shortly. All right, well, good luck everyone with your research essays. Get those questions to me. Thank you.